interface is shown in the figure. As shown in the figure means what here the hardware devices. Okay, there are three buses are used. Okay, one is what the address lines, another one data lines, third one is the control lines. Here the this is the used for the IO interface for the input devices. Now to connect to only what the input device here. Just to see here the input devices here there are three hardware components are there. Four. One is for the address decoder, another one is the control circuit, third one is the data registers, another fourth one is what the status registers. Okay, this one is called the IO interface, completely IO interface. The IO interface is nothing but this is the connection between the processor to the IO devices. Processor to the IO devices. This system bus is used to connect to what to the processor and the memory. This system bus, in order to communicate between the IO device and the processor, we have the system bus and also IO interface is there. Okay, this is the hardware device. There are four components are there, four devices. One is called the address decoder, another one is the control circuit, third one is the data registers, fourth one is the status registers. Okay, next, if you want to communicate with the IO device, first it has to send what the particular device address that we could send toward the address. If it is reached, if the processor sends the address of that particular input device through what the address bus, through what the address lines or address bus. Okay, this address bus, okay, the whatever we are getting the address, that used to be what the decoded, that we call what is called the decoded. The address bus ಏನು ಬರ್ತಲ್ಲ address ಕಳಿಸ್ತದಲ್ಲ ಆ address ಅನ್ನು decode ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. After getting the decode, perfect decode, then the control circuit and the data and status register will become active. Otherwise, until and unless converting of the address of that particular input device decoded, the other devices will not be activated. That means here the address of that particular input devices has to be decoded first. After the decode only, other hardware interfaces will become active. Otherwise, these two will not be activated. Okay, come to the next control circuit. The control circuit will be receiving only the signals from the processor toward the control lines. Complete these three lines, whatever is getting the address lines, data lines, control lines, we call the complete one bus that we call is what the system bus. System bus itself consists of what the address lines, data lines, even the control lines. The control circuit will be activated only when the control signals will be received from the processor in order to get the in order to do the operations as the read operations or write operations. ಇದು ಕಳಿಸ್ತದೆ ನೀವು ರೀಡ್ ಮಾಡೋ ರೈಟ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಕಳಿಸ್ತದೆ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್. ಏನು ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಅದ ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಅದ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ, ಹೌದಿಲ್ಲ? ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ ಟು ದ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಥ್ರೂ ವಾಟ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್. ವಾಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರೀಡ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ರೈಟ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರೀಡ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಮತ್ತು ರೈಟ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ರೈಟ್ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ಸ್. Until and unless the receiving of the control signals from the processor, the control circuit will not be activated. When it receives the signal from the processor toward the control lines, then the control circuit will be activated. This will receive the read or write operation toward the control lines. This is what the bidirectional. Come to the data registers. Third one is what the data registers. What type of data you are using, whether it is you are writing or reading, what type of, this will be decided by whom? The data list. This is also bidirectional. Even the status registers, already you have studied in the status registers that we call as the conditions codes or status registers or flag registers. It is present in what we are in the, this is also one of the registers present is for the processor. The same registers which will be used for the applying what type of result we are getting, what type of data we are getting. This will be decided by whom? Status registers. Status registers ಏನು ಕೇಳ್ತದ, ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ತಗೋತಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಆ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಕನೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಏನು ತಗೋತಿ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತದ, ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್. ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಡಿಸೈಡೆಡ್ ಬೈ whom? ಸ್ಟೇಟಸ್ ರೆಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ನಾನು ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ರೀಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ರೈಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಯಾವುದು? ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯೂಟ್. ನೀವು ರೀಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೈಟ್ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಯಾವ ಟೈಪ್ ಅದ ಅಂತ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಯಾವುದು? ಸ್ಟೇಟಸ್ ರೆಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್. This we call the status register. This complete hardware component, this what the complete hardware component is there, no? This one is called as the, what that one? IO interface. This one we call as the IO interface. They will ask in the examination for the, explain the IO interface for the, in order to communicate with the input devices. Here, what is the device here? The input device. This complete hardware component is we call as what? The IO interface. But ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನದ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಅದ, ಇದೇನದ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್. ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ನಾವು ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ. ಈ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ ನಡ್ಬರ್ಕ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ as the what is the IO interface. IO interface device. This when the IO interface consists of the address decoder, control circuits, data registers, and even the status registers also. Okay. Okay, in order to communicate with the IO device, we have the one register called as what? The data in register. This is what? The virtual register. This is what? The virtual registers. You should remember. Even the, if you want to communicate with the output devices, data out registers is used. Okay. Okay, this is the data in register, this is the data out registers. Data in registers which is present in the what, in the input devices. The data in registers is used for the communication between the processor and the input devices through what? The data in registers. This is what? The virtual registers. Similar, if you want to communicate with the output devices, we have the one more register that is called as the data out registers. This is present in the output devices. In order to communicate between the processor and the output devices, we have the data out registers. Okay, in order to get the complete communication between the processor and the IO devices, we have the to use the one is called the bus, another one is the IO interface. Then only it will communication will be happening here. This one is called as the IO interface. Before going to proceed any IO interface, we have to make sure of having the these registers also. Okay, in the input devices, this is for the output devices. Okay. We have to explain the separately. Okay, take the heading as the IO interface. I'll dictate the notes for this one. The hardware arrangement for the connecting the IO input devices is shown in the figure. The hardware arrangement for connecting input devices. The hardware arrangement for connecting input devices to to system bus is shown in the figure above. Is shown in above figure. Next point. This hardware arrangement is called IO interface. This hardware arrangement is called IO interface as the IO interface consists of three functional devices. One is called address decoder. First one is three functional units. One is address decoder, second one is control circuit, third one is data and status registers. Next, take the first one, consider as the address decoder. Its function, it is a function to decode. It is the function to decode the address. Its function mainly the address decoder is to what? It's decoding the address of that particular. Okay, its function is to decode the address in next In order to recognize, in order to recognize the input device, in order to recognize input device whose address is available, whose address is input device whose address is available in the address line. ಈ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ, ಬಟ್ ಇದು ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಡಿಕೋಡರ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ತಗೊಂಡು ಡಿಕೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. The recognition of input device, next point, is available in the unidirectional address ಬರ್ದ್ರಿ, ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಬಸ್ ಯೂನಿಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನಲ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಬಸ್ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂನಿಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನಲ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ರಿ, ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಬಸ್ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ರಿ ಆತಂಗ ಯೂನಿಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನಲ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ರಿ, ಯೂನಿಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನಲ್. Next point, the recognition of input device is done first. The recognition of input device is done first, comma, and then control and data registers become active. First, the recognition of input device is done. Okay, after the recognition of input device, then only control, what is that, control and data registers become active. Next point, the unidirectional address bus of system, the unidirectional address bus of a system bus, the unidirectional address bus of system bus is connected to input of the address decoder, input of the address decoder, address line ಗೆ address decoder ಗೆ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. Input device of the address decoder as shown in the figure. Second, take the control circuit. Second, take the control circuit. Second, take the, consider the control circuit. The control bus of the system is the control lines of the system bus is connected to control circuit. Control lines of the system bus is connected to control circuit.
The control lines of the
System bus is connected to control circuit, is connected to control circuit as shown in the figure. The processor, next point, the processor sends the control signals to control circuit throughout the control lines. The processor sends the control signals to control circuit. The processor sends the control signals to control circuit. The processor sends the control signals to control circuit through control lines of the system bus as shown in the figure. It controls the read and write operations. Next point, it controls the read and write operations with respect to IO device. WRT ಬರ್ರಿ, with respect to IO device. Take the next as the status and the data registers. Take the next as the status and the data registers. Okay, it specifies the type of operation type of operation, either read or write on the IO devices. It specifies the type of operation in bracket, read or write operations on IO devices. On IO devices. On IO devices, where is that? Hardware components. Okay. Take the, as the data bus carries data from the IO devices, as the data bus carries the data from the IO device, from the IO device, from the IO devices to or from the processor, to or from the processor. Full stop. The data bus connected to the data bus connected to the data bus connected to the data and status registers. The data bus connected to the data bus connected to the data and status register as shown in the figure. As shown in the figure. Next point. Data register stores the data. Data register stores the data, comma, read from input devices or the data to be written into the output device, or the data to be written into the output devices. There are two types. First one is the data in, ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬರೀರಿ ಅದ್ರ ಕೆಳಗೆ. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಡೇಟಾ ಔಟ್. ಡೇಟಾ ಇನ್ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ದಿರಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಥರ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಿಬೇಕಾ? ಡೇಟಾ ಇನ್, ಡೇಟಾ ಔಟ್. ಡೇಟಾ ಇನ್, ಡೇಟಾ ಔಟ್. ಡೇಟಾ ಇನ್ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರೀರಿ, ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಬಫರ್ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಕೀಬೋರ್ಡ್. ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಬಫರ್ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಕೀಬೋರ್ಡ್. ಬಫರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು? ಹಾಂ, that is the space available, the memory. Yes. And the next data out ಮುಂದೆಗಡೆ ಬರೀರಿ, output data buffer of the output data buffer of a display or printer. Display output data buffer of a data in input buffer associated with the keyboard. Input buffer associated with the keyboard. This buffer is nothing but the some type of memory, but it's virtual. Input buffer associated with the keyboard. Second, data out ಅಲ್ಲಿ output data buffer associated with the display or printer. Next, ಈ ಥರ ಬರ್ಕೋರಿ. ಇದು ಇನ್ಪುಟ್, ಇದು ಡೇಟಾ ಏನಂತ ಬರೀರಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಬರೀಬೇಕು? ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್, ಡೇಟಾ ಇನ್, ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಈ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ನಿಂದ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸಮ್ ಬಫರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್, ದಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ as the data in registers. Data in, this is virtual buffer, This is not visible or available, but the buffer is there, data in. Then the processor in the output device communicate ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ this is also one of the buffer, data out. Okay, data out. You can write the data out, data in buffer, data out buffer, data in buffer, data out buffer. ಈ ಥರ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. Okay, take the next is the input and output registers. Huh? ಆಯ್ತು, ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ? I have only the 12 concepts are there. In the fourth module, only 12 concepts are there. First 5 concepts are very important for writing the 20 marks. ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಬರಿಬೋದು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 5 ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದಾವಲ್ಲ ಅವು ಓದಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು, 20 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಬರಿಬೋದು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ. ಓಕೆ, just definitely you can pass the CO subject, DDCO subject, don't worry. 100% you will pass. I have confidence. Scoring is also possible, 100%. ಸುಳ್ಳಾಡಿದ್ರೆ
We understand the concept.
definitely you will understand these concepts. Once you start reading the subject, until and unless
Read our own, sir. Then only we can understand.
definitely everybody, engineering is what not a school. Will stick and sit and study, not even the spoon feeding is also not possible. Engineering is what, always own study. Until and unless you will come to know what you are, then only ಏನೇ ವಾ. Okay, shall I take the attendance now? Penta ma.
Sir, attendance first. ಇದು ಆಫರ್
Students ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಬೇಕು. Memories always. Okay, first is the Anjali. Present. Arbaz, Arpita, Ayesha, Bharat, Bhuvaneshwar, Chaitra, Chetan Patil, Ishwari S.
Present, sir.
Ishwari S is present. Ishwari MH, Govind Shwa, Induja, Ishwari Rathod, Ismail, Jaira, Kaishap Afreen, Kaveri, Kirti, Kansa Parveen, Afreed, Muhammad Rahim, Muhammad Akil, Muhammad Fazil, Muhammad Kaif, Muhammad Madani, Muhammad Thaur, Muhammad Umar. Umar is there. Nitin, Pooja Darbari, Radhika. Okay, thank you. Okay, oh, Satava. Rafiq, Hostel. Raman Goda, Shiva. Saima Samrin, Sana Farat, Sania, Sanjana, Shashil Rathod, Sharin Farah, present. Okay, Srishti, Siddhama Patil, absent. Absent. Okay, Somme Sajjan, present. Srinivas, Sri Raksha, Zai Matar, Amika, Purushottam, Sri Shishikant, Lakshmi, Aishwarya, P. Shivanand, Krishnaya, Nagraj, Sheikh Kaif, Ankush, Omnath, Sujata Hanumant, Abhay Kulkarni, Muhammad Thajki, Nandini, Sangmesh, Shivprasad, Manvita, Parimala. Wait, what is your name? Parimala, I called you. Parimala.
Sir, 17 members is in 8
17? 17?
17.
30 34 ಕೈಫಾ
20.
ಹಾಕಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ ಮೊಹಮ್ಮದ್ ಕೈಫ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೆದ್ನಲ್ಲ ಅವಾಗಲೇ 30 34 ಮೊಹಮ್ಮದ್ ಕೈಫ್ is present. Okay. Okay. Okay, today I'll be sending the